Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on Racing Grid with James and Max. I'm James
I'm Max.
and today we're going to be talking about Lewis Hamilton and whether his move to Ferrari was worth it.
Was it?
Right, so basically, as we know, Hamilton joined Ferrari at the start of this season. He was with Mercedes for 12 years, but he's decided to join, and his move was chaos, pretty much,
To sum it up, yeah.
Yeah, because I think it sent the F1 community, including myself, into meltdown. And on top of that, it sparked a whole flurry of driver moves. So there are lots of drivers in different places, which started with Hamilton going to Ferrari. So
There are.
big changes. So we're just going to discuss in this video, was it all worth it?
Absolutely. Because, of course, without Hamilton moving to Ferrari, a lot of these driver changes would never have happened, I don't
Yeah,
think. I mean, Colapinto would have always replaced Logan Sargent, but would he have lost his seat for the 2025 season? Would he still be in there?
exactly.
Would Antonelli have even got the chance to race for Mercedes or another team by that matter?
Yeah.
It's very interesting what Lewis Hamilton has done in terms of this massive chain reaction effect.
Exactly. So let's take it back to February 1st, 2024, when this all happened, and I have a story about
I haven't
about
heard this either. I haven't heard this story.
about my reaction. So I remember I was out and about and I was talking to someone and I heard the Sky Sports news notification go off in my pocket, and I just thought, this is going to be something about football because it's transfer deadline time, or it might be something about golf or something like that. I thought it will have nothing to do with Formula One. And the conversation was coming to an end. So I took out my phone and had a look, and it just says Hamilton to Ferrari. I let out the biggest gasp, so much so the guy I was talking to asked me if I was all right and needed help.
Really?
Yeah. I was in so much shock that Hamilton had signed for Ferrari, because it's not something I don't think anyone would have ever expected. And being a Formula One fan for so long, it was just like, wow,
It's huge
what's going
news.
on? For me, it's the biggest move in F1 history.
Completely unexpected. But people, I would assume, almost saw it coming with how the performance had been of Mercedes since these regulation changes. They've just been slipping back. You could kind of see it happening with Hamilton, that he wanted to make that move. And he's always wanted to drive for Ferrari, as he's obviously said already.
Exactly. But one of the consequences of this was Carlos Sainz having to leave Ferrari. He ended up at Williams. That meant there wasn't a space for Colapinto. Frankie Colapinto did a really good job standing in for the team in the second half of the season. So he's now ended up at Alpine as a reserve driver. Hamilton moving has also meant Kimi Antonelli has ended up at Mercedes. So a whole range of driver moves there. And to be honest, in my opinion, I actually think it makes the grid really
It does.
exciting just to see all these different lineups. And I don't think we've seen a rookie go into a top team for quite a long time. I think one of the last people to do it was Lewis Hamilton,
Yes.
in 2007, just jumping straight into a top team like McLaren. Kimi Antonelli's jumping into a top team like Mercedes without having been in a team lower down the order. So
You're absolutely right.
it makes some interesting changes.
It's going to be very exciting. And obviously, the 2025 season, it did get announced. You had your big gasp moment. And since then, it's been non-stop. But I guess we've got to talk about the big elephant in the room, which is he is now teammates with Ferrari's protege, Charles Leclerc. And it's going to be very interesting. As you've probably seen in the news, team orders are being mentioned about what's going to happen during the season. There might be a finite number of races that's going to occur before Ferrari maybe have to make that decision in the championship. How do you think Leclerc and Hamilton are going to fare together as teammates, camaraderies, and from there?
But I've said this in another video. I think it will start off really friendly, but if that car is quick, then I think they'll be fighting. Well, they'll be fighting for the title. Number one, number two, I think it will get tense pretty quickly. But as I say, it started off all really friendly.
It
The
did.
Hamilton, I think it was January 20th. I'm going to say, maybe I'm wrong about that, but it was in the middle of January that Hamilton, went to Maranello,
Yes.
went to see Ferrari headquarters, and got to know the team. the hype was unbelievable. There were so many people on his first day, queuing outside Maranello just to see him. And 2 days later, he got out on track in 2020 in the 2023 car around
Yeah,
Fiorano.
a momentous
Yeah,
occasion.
so many Tifosi were there. They were going ballistic over seeing Hamilton drive that car. And I think at the moment, I think he settled in really nicely at Ferrari. And I think with Charles Leclerc, I think they're getting on really well at the moment.
That's good. But of course, he might be settling in, but according to sources, he did have a crash.
He did have a crash, yeah. So what was it? It was in Barcelona. He well, we're not clear what happened because there's not been any sort of video footage or photos of what happened. But reports suggest it was the last sector where he went off. Not sure what the cause is.
No.
There was one report that it could have been because of a bump, but we're not too sure. And Hamilton, he ended up in the barriers apparently and caused damage to things like the suspension. Um, but Hamilton shrugged that off pretty quickly. He put out a social media post saying, can't wait for the first race to come. It can't come
He
soon
did.
enough. So Hamilton's ready to go. I think he settled in nicely with the team, and that's a real positive. But how will he fare in the first season with Charles Leclerc? I think that's probably the big question, and I think it's going to be really close between them. But I can imagine Ferrari throwing their weight behind one driver
Yes.
if
Quite soon.
after a few races, if it turns out that needs to be the case. Do you agree?
I do agree, yeah, and I don't feel like either driver will be particularly happy with that, and so I think they're gonna give it their all for the first few races. I mean, they're gonna give it their all for every single
Yes.
race, but I think they're gonna be pushing super hard, which could be an issue going into the first turn at Albert Park. If they are lining up on the grid
Yeah.
first and second, that is a possibility that could happen given Ferrari's pace last year. And I guess the crux of this question and the title of this video is: has Hamilton made the right call going to Ferrari? Has it all been worth it? All this hype over the whole year of him going leaving Mercedes, Antonelli coming to replace him now going and doing the testing at Ferrari. Has it been worth it for Lewis Hamilton? I think it will be. I think he will have a good car behind him. I think he will have the backing of the team. I think he'll have the backing of his teammate. Charles Leclerc has wanted to work with Lewis Hamilton for a very long time. He's admired him, and we saw a picture come up on social media a few days ago of Charles Leclerc watching Lewis Hamilton, driving, for Mercedes when he was still kind of
That was
a little
until August 2016.
correct, yeah, when he was still outside of Formula One. And so I think it has been the best decision that he could have made based on where Mercedes are at and where Ferrari are at the moment in last season. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think for Hamilton going to Ferrari, is definitely worth the hype. I think it was the right decision for him. I think if you look at Mercedes over the last 3 years, it's not been great, has it? I mean, there have been some highlights,
They've
but
had their moments of brilliance.
and 2024 I think was particularly good because Hamilton got back to winning ways, but it just wasn't meant to be in the end that Hamilton would end his career with them because it didn't look like Mercedes really progressing so much compared to to other teams. In my opinion, you look at McLaren, Miami last year, they
Huge
just
difference.
jump up. Ferrari, I know they had their dip mid-season, but they jumped up. And I know Red Bull did the exact opposite, but they still managed to keep their cool when Verstappen won the constructors. He won the drivers' championship, and Mercedes. You see bits of progress for them, but you just don't see things, in my opinion, compared to what McLaren and Ferrari can do, and probably Red Bull. And I just think it was time for a change. I really do. And Ferrari's the perfect team. It is the perfect team for him to go to. I mean, it's the most historic team in Formula One. It's the team every driver wants to drive for. It's the team that's I know every team wants to win, right? But Ferrari that the the desperation to get back to the front is unbelievable, and Hamilton to be the driver to take them back to the front. This story just fits, doesn't it? So I think,
Let's see.
and I think Ferrari are able to build a really good car. I think they can get their first success since 2008, and I really do feel it could be a really good match, Hamilton and Ferrari. So I think the hype was definitely worth it. I think the move was definitely worth it, and I think, even though it was unfortunate for drivers like Carlos Sainz, who ended up without a seat for a period of time, their future was in the balance. They've now got a seat with Williams, and I think Carlos Sainz is looking forward to the challenge of taking Williams back to the front. I think Franco Colapinto is looking forward to the challenge of potentially getting into that Alpine, and trying to do something there. I think Kimi Antonelli, sorry, is looking forward to get into the Mercedes and take it to George and see if he can, beat a more experienced driver. So not only do I think it's a great match, I think that it's caused a flurry of moves that could make the F1 so exciting in 25.
Agreed. It's going to be very exciting. I can't wait to see what happens, and I hope you can't either. That will be the end of today's video. We hope you've enjoyed watching, and if you want to leave a like and subscribe, that would be amazing. But until then, we'll see you all in the next video.
Yeah, take care, everyone, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.